Carlyle Borders was Lebanon High School's first African-American basketball player. He lived and was laid to rest in Lebanon, and up until today, his grave was unmarked. Episode 225 of the Love in Lebanon podcast shows how what began as a relatively simple way to honor a pioneer in desegregation turned into much, much more. Missy Krulik is our guest. Missy is leading this legacy-celebrating charge, and she shares where the history of Carlyle Borders' journey has taken her. Episode 225 of the Love in Lebanon podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Love in Lebanon podcast, highlighting all the great things happening in Lebanon, Indiana. Have an idea for an episode? Send an email to loveinlebanon@lebanon.in.gov.
Are we ready?
We're ready. Do I get this close enough?
Yep. Okay. See, your microphone etiquette is great. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 225 of our Love in Lebanon podcast. Joe LePage here, City of Lebanon Communications and Community Development Director. Later on today, everybody, at 3 p.m., taking place at Oak Hill Cemetery, something very special, very important is going to take place. Now, we've had Missy Krulik. She's Executive Director of the Heart of Lebanon. Say hey, Missy, to all the folks out there.
Hello, everybody.
She wears a lot of hats, and usually we're talking events or different things that are taking place. This is kind of something unique that we're doing, Missy. And this is, if you don't know Missy very well, everybody, Missy is a history buff. And this is a chance to kind of combine a lot of loves that you have here on the podcast, and perfect timing for the Gravesite dedication of Carlyle Borders. So, Missy, appreciate you being here. Big lead up to this whole thing. But this is a significant kind of story to tell for you, isn't it?
It is. And first of all, I appreciate you calling me a history buff, because I usually refer to myself as a history geek. So that might be kind of nicer. So
we better you have to get you on the pod. That's what we do. Yeah.
That's all right. So again, love history. I love diving into the history of Lebanon. I'm not born and raised in Lebanon. I'm a transplant 25 years ago. And it's just something about the history of this city that really gets me excited and gets me wanting to learn more. And Carlyle Borders was a subject that came to mind during Alley Oop, the creation of Alley Oop, and I wanted to learn more. And as I learn more about him, I'm more and more inspired. And so I think that's the great thing about history. We can look back and we can see things that weren't so great, but we can also see things that inspire us.
And wait till you hear the end of this story, everybody, and what kind of the rabbit hole that Missy went down. There's a big payoff at the end, and we'll share it with you just coming up a little bit later on. So Alley Oop is an alley activation project that you were spearheading, kind of celebrating Lebanon basketball within our community. It's kind of a big deal around here. And Alley Oop is the north side of our courthouse square, everybody. It links our downtown with Memory Hall, where a lot of famous basketball players and teams just played. And it was just wonderful to be able to celebrate that. And that's where you kind of began your Carlyle Borders story. It was kind of a fun little kind of fig leaf to have, so it wasn't all maybe the Mount family weighed down on that, or the Rosensteel teams. It was something else, a fun fact of some kind?
Yeah, so I was working with Harley Sheets, local basketball historian, and Chad Perdue, a local documentarian who's done some work on Lebanon basketball. And so I was kind of chatting with both of them, trying to get some information on Lebanon basketball. Again, not being raised here, basketball isn't in my blood per se. So I was reaching out to those local historians who are entrenched in the history of basketball and just gaining information from them. And so they were giving me all these great facts about Lebanon basketball, and really kind of got me excited about all the accomplishments that Lebanon can be proud of, that we had in the early stages of basketball in our community, and really that foundational love for basketball that has grown over 100 years within our community. So yeah, they gave me bits and pieces, all the records that we held, which are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And also wanted to do that personal side of basketball as well. And so I had asked who the first African American was to play basketball for Lebanon High School, and Chad Purdue gave me the name of Carlyle Borders. So we started to do some history research on him and found an article about where he was the hero of the 1926 basketball season and in the game over Crawfordsville. And so just kind of wanted to dig deep a little bit to learn more about Carlyle.
And when were you able to learn more information about him and kind of get where was he buried, and kind of where did that next step take place for you, finding out where you knew the general vicinity of where he was buried, but there maybe wasn't a headstone that commemorated where his body was laid?
Yeah, one of the easiest things to find when you research a person is their obituary. And so, unfortunately, I found the article about his the great game he played in the 1926 season, but also with his obituary. And then there's also a great site called Find a Grave. And so that helps you locate somebody and where they're buried. And it's a rabbit hole all in itself. But
history geeks love it, though, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's got some great information on there. So found out that he was indeed buried in Oak Hill Cemetery, and went out to talk to them and find his gravesite and realize that it was he was in an unmarked grave.
And what was significant about he passed away at a relatively young age and of some kind of illness from what I gathered from what you were sharing with us?
Yeah, Carlyle was born to James and Marie Borders in 1907. They moved here in 1907 with their 3 girls from North Carolina, and Marie was pregnant with Carlyle, and they moved to a house that's still in existence down on South Meridian Street. And so if the owner of that house sees me creeping by in my car looking, it's just because I wanted to see where Carlyle Border lived and his family. So he was born in 1907, and then later had 2 other sisters that were born in the family. And he went to Lebanon High School and was looking through the yearbook, and he's easy to spot. He's the only African American in his class. And normally you would see him towards the back of the class. There's a couple years he was on the side, pictured on the side, but never intermingled, never in the front. And so that was kind of poignant to me. It made me ponder a little bit, but he really made a name for himself. And I felt like he shouldn't be in an unmarked grave. Nobody should be in an unmarked grave. And on a side note, his father and his sister are also in Oak Hill Cemetery in an unmarked grave. So if you come out to the ceremony and dedication, we're going to go ahead and put flowers on their graves as well. So when you travel over to the Carlyle Borders gravesite, you'll see flowers on his sister and his dad's grave, so that we can remember them as well and their contribution to the fabric of our community.
Did you ever think that beginning this journey would take you to where you're at right now, where later on today, Oak Hill Cemetery, people are going to be congregating around and celebrating what this desegregation meant and all the kind of the melting pot that our community is continuing to become? You ever think you're going to go down and reach where you've gone so far, and how that's even continuing even farther based on this alley-oop project? I mean, having that designation as the first African American player, obviously that's an important story to tell, but did you think it'd get you here?
Yeah, no. It's funny how these journeys will lead you in different directions. But yeah, was I excited about doing a basketball history project?
Knowing how much you love the game.
I
and,
am not a huge fan of basketball. I'll admit it. But, sometimes in these projects, you realize a great appreciation for something. And there's always lessons to be learned too. And I think where this took me was Carlyle Borders, looking at minorities in our community and how that must feel, even though I can't even begin to understand, but I can seek to understand. So so it's been interesting going back and again looking at those yearbook pictures, seeing that he was his family was one of the only African American families in school, and then also seeing him in the back, and then seeing him in his 1926 basketball team photo, and he is front and center. And so what tenacity that must have took for him, and being comfortable with himself and being confident with himself to be able to be a standout in a game, obviously, that he loved. They had great things to say about Carlyle, that he was very clever with the basketball, and that being able to attack under the basket was his most important asset. So, but I would beg to differ. I think he had a lot of greater assets than his game of basketball.
And how cool is it, and just to be able to have athletics be something that kind of reveals some of that? You mentioned he's kind of hidden behind the scenes, and it's horrible to even think of that's taking place, but a chance for him to, you mentioned him being front and center in the basketball photo, where that kind of would help shine a spotlight on this young man and being able to kind of have that be part of his legacy.
Right.
That team photo.
Yeah. It must have been such a sense of pride and accomplishment, not only for him, but also his family and those other African Americans who were in our community, who were kind of maybe hidden away and maybe not feel appreciated or a part of this community. And I think they were able to gain that just in a small bit through Carlyle Borders.
So this isn't just about basketball, but this is about just the love of having a hero, a community hero for a certain section of the community, and then now our community as a whole.
Yeah, and I think when we went through the process of raising money for Carlyle Borders gravestone, and we reached out to the community. We felt like this was important to be highlighted, and then also for the community to come together and celebrate Carlyle and what he did for our community, not only in basketball, but as a desegregated pioneer, just being able to be out there and, be forthcoming with his ethnicity and celebrating that. And so we formed the Heart of Lebanon. We formed a committee of African American community members so that they could have a say in what was going on Carlyle's headstone and what they wanted to celebrate and how they wanted to celebrate this. So I kind of let them take the lead on what the stone would look like, what the stone would have on it. And they did an amazing job. With the community, we were able to raise $2,600, and every penny of that went to his headstone. Yeah. It is absolutely gorgeous.
And that was my next question was how do you mentioned unmarked grave earlier on in this podcast, and you're listening to episode 225 with Missy Krulik here talking about the Carlyle Borders dedication, a pioneer in desegregation, taking place later on today, 3 p.m. at Oak Hill Cemetery. You can park over by St. Peter's Episcopal Church. There's a shuttle going to take you right to the gravesite. But how do you go about, is it as simple as purchasing an actual gravesite? How do you go about the process of someone that is in Oak Hill Cemetery somewhere, just don't know exactly where? How do you go about, you mentioned the $2,600 for the gravestone. I can't wait to see that later on today. But what process does that entail to be able to have that take place?
Yeah, so they have record of where he's placed in the cemetery. Everyone's giving a section number and a lot number. And I spent my childhood in graveyards with my mother.
Oh, that's
I know,
where it's
doesn't
at.
that
Okay,
sound
there
exciting?
we go. Now we found the cause.
She kind of passed on that love for history, family history to me. And so she's researched all of our family's history. So I'm just researching everybody else's history. But if you go through a graveyard, you'll see that they have these, a lot of times they're covered up with grass, but they're these concrete markers that have numbers pressed down in them. And there's different sections of a cemetery and there's different lot numbers. So it's very confusing on how they number these lots, but the people in the office have been wonderful to work with. Beth has been great. Didn't at all think it was weird, which, just don't know how people will respond to this. You want to put a grave marker on somebody else's grave that you don't know?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
How do we do that? So she's been great to work with out there. And they showed me where his gravesite was, and I asked them if there was anything I needed to do. We didn't know at that point of any living relatives. And so they were open to it. They thought it was great. They actually gave me the information that they had in their files on Carlyle Borders. And then, contacting the local monument company and just working with them as well. They did make a small donation to that gravestone as well, so we could stay within budget. So I really, really appreciate that. That's A&K Monument. So yeah, everybody's been really great to work with on this, and everyone is excited. They understand the importance of this and the significance of this. So yeah, no one's looked at me with a side eye. Like, I get that a lot, by the way. What are you doing now, Missy? So that's been really good that the community is definitely behind this.
And you've had kind of a conversation that you had recently, and it was something we talked about before we hit record, everybody. The Carlyle Borders family. What's that been? You talked about the legacy and what that would be, and kind of putting yourself in maybe Carlisle's shoes, for lack of a better phrase. But communicating with that family, they gave you over the phone anyway, maybe a little side eye action, like, what on earth are you reaching out for? Wait, what?
Yeah.
And what has that meant to that family to be able to to celebrate what Carlyle has meant, not only for us here in Lebanon in the sport of basketball, of course, but for them as well?
Yeah, it's another one of those side eye examples.
Yeah. You're used to it by now. Come on.
I'm used to it. But in February, when we decided to do this project and raise this money for his gravestone, I did a search, looked to see if I could find any family members. Was pretty unsuccessful at that point. Couldn't link anybody that was living to Carlyle Borders. And a couple weeks ago, I thought, I'll try again. And on that, I even had somebody in Chicago. I know that Carlisle's mom, after Carlisle's dad passed away, moved to Chicago with Carlisle's sister. And she lived she lived in Chicago, Cook County, Illinois, for the remainder of her life. And so I had somebody from Chicago. I contacted the library up there and said, can you help me find this family? I need to know if there's any living relatives, and this is the project that we're doing. Can you help me? And so we emailed back and forth. She said she was looking, she was trying really hard to see if she could find any family members. She thought she had a lead, but not quite for sure. But then heard back from her that lead had gone dead, as it often does. And so I just felt like there was no hope to find a living relative, or perhaps there wasn't any living relatives, because a lot of his sisters did not have children. So really? I just assumed maybe we were at a dead end.
That's how the story ends.
Yeah. And then a couple weeks ago, I thought, try again, Missy. Try again. And it's amazing. And I was talking to somebody at the library the other day who does family history research, how you can go on one day and not find a thing, and then the next day go on again and you find things that were always there, but they just pop up. And so I think that's what's the fun part about researching family histories. But yeah, I came across Virginia Singer, and I came across a obituary, and I thought, and I knew at one point Marie Borders had moved to Texas, and Virginia Singer was her daughter. And this is Marie Borders, the sister. And Virginia Singers was her daughter. And so I did a search of Virginia Singers. I'd done it several times before, but all of a sudden it pops up her obituary. And it wasn't much information. It was when she died and when she was born and where her services were being held. And so I thought, I'm going to Google that church and see. So I Googled the church. They had a contact form on their website. So I put in, how crazy I am.
Some random person from Lebanon, Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I was looking for a relative of Virginia Singer. And so they emailed me back the next day and connected me with the daughter of Virginia Singer. And so I emailed her, probably overexcitedly emailed her all this information, what we were doing. And I sent her like Carlyle Borders obituary and the article in the paper and the nice little invitation we had made for the grave dedication. And then she comes back to me and said, I've never heard of him. And my grandmother only had 2 sisters, and we think maybe a half brother. And I was like, got the wrong family. How can I have the wrong family? And so she's like, I would like some more documentation. And she said she did look our organization up online to make sure we were legit.
Swampland somewhere. Yeah.
And she was welcomed. She was interested in seeing my documentation. And so a late night, very excited, searched through, got some more documentation, and I just knew that this was definitely the family. And so back and forth, several emails, she did say that she does believe that Carlyle was her great uncle. And her and her cousins are very excited about this information on their family. And it has renewed their interest in their family history, and they're very excited about it. And I had told her that I will send her photos of the gravestone once it's uncovered and of the ceremony, and so that her and her family could have that information. So yeah, she's just excited about this now. And yeah.
And all this with an alley-oop project. Again,
Yeah.
my question from before, again, did you ever think that you would be messaging back and forth, renewing the family history love of a family in Texas with a great uncle that played basketball at Lebanon way back when?
Yeah, no, I didn't think this would reach as far as Texas. But yeah, now they know this little city in Lebanon, Indiana cares about their family and cares about their family's legacy. And I think that's a great contribution that our city can make to other families and people from across the U.S. So I'm excited that we're able to do this for their family. We're able to do this for our community, and able to do this for Carlyle.
Yeah, and that word care that you mentioned in your last answer there, Missy, and we're talking with Missy Krulik. I'm going to call you a historian, just leaving it as historian. She's also, of course, the executive director of the Heart of Lebanon organization, but kind of spearheading this gravesite dedication legacy celebration of Carlyle Borders taking place later on today at 3 p.m. That care word, is that kind of resonating with you, with our community, that they care about Carlyle Borders, his legacy, that the family care about now their family history, that type of thing? That whole kind of that caring aspect of it, is that what your hope is for the community that's going to come out and take advantage of being able to do this and take part in this dedication? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that Lebanon is a very, very caring community, and that was exhibited when we put the call out for to raise money for this gravestone. I thought, we're not going to be able to do this.
As someone that does some fundraising, there's some things
Yeah.
that are difficult, and this was not that.
It is. Will people relate to this? Will they care about this as much as I do, as much as our organization does? I didn't know. And that money just came in and the community got behind it. And I think that just shows a great love and a great care that our community has, to be able to want to do something like this for somebody who died 1928, almost 100 years ago, to be able to bring that legacy out, that they didn't like that somebody like Carlyle Borders was in an unmarked grave in Oak Hill Cemetery. So, I think that's, and then people can come out to the celebration later on today, and they can learn a little bit more about Carlyle. They can see what the community has been able to provide for them. And also we'll have Eunice Trotter with the Black Heritage Group with the landmarks, Indiana Landmarks. She'll be out there today to be able to talk about a few words about Black Heritage. It's not all pretty. There was not, in learning about the history in the Black culture here in Lebanon, it wasn't pretty. Wasn't all roses. So it's important that we remember that. But it's also important that we remember the good things too. So she'll kind of bring that forward and balance all that out. And I think we'll walk away inspired. We'll walk away knowing that Lebanon is truly a wonderful and caring community to all. And be able to move forward with that.
And I'm just kind of getting the mental picture too about the Borders family, if they're able to make the trip one day from Texas to Lebanon, Indiana, and what that would mean to be able to see that, and kind of, you mentioned it earlier, but their renewed love of their family history, but what that would do then for just kind of their own quality of life, to know that people somewhere care about their relatives and that kind of thing about that too.
Marina is the great niece, and she said about her grandmother, Marie, which was Carlyle's sister, that Marie was very selfless. She was always giving of herself and making sure that other people were taken care of before herself. And so I don't think that Maria got that all on her own. I think that that's how the Border family was. I think it was learned through who they were as a family. And so I'm just excited to be able to celebrate the Borders family, be able to recognize them as a foundational family in our city. And, being such selfless people, that I'm just excited that we can give something to them.
And Missy, if there are other history buffs out there that want to get more of the information, or want to look at the story that you were able to help uncover through your research and just love of history, you're going to add some of the details to the Heart of Lebanon site. If they either go to the ceremony or aren't able to make it, can they get information on Carlyle Borders and kind of look at some of the things and trace some of the steps that you did?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have some information on our website, heartoflebanon.org. You can go there, and we have information already about Alley Oop, and then we'll be adding the information about Carlyle and photos of the ceremony. And, if you're out in Oak Hill Cemetery, it's a great place to just go for a stroll. Oddly enough,
it is a great
quiet.
place to jog. I mean, there's a lot of tranquility out there for sure.
Yeah. Carlyle Borders, you'll be able to see his gravestone from the road. So, if you aren't able to make it out there, you can look at it on our website once we dedicate it. And it's an absolute honor to be able to show this to the community, because, like I said, the committee did a wonderful job of selecting his gravestone, and I think everyone will be extremely pleased. And it's just a monument to, again, the care of this community and the celebration of Carlyle.
Missy, appreciate your fact-finding mission and being able to kind of retrace some of those steps with us and sharing what you've uncovered, and we can't wait to visit this gravestone and see the legacy continue to unfold.
Yeah, and hopefully inspire future generations, and let people know of all ethnicities and cultures that they're welcome here in Lebanon, Indiana, and that you make up the fabric of who we are.
Yeah, very well said. Boy, we appreciate you, Missy, for coming on and chatting with us. Very much appreciated. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of the podcast. More episodes coming your way. Take care.